Good morning, everyone. I'm Professor Chris Hopkins, and I look after a team of scientists, researchers, nurses, engineers, pharmacists, and clinicians within Hywel Dda University Health Board. We all carry out research on new technologies within our local hospitals across Carmarthen, Pembrokeshire, and Ceredigion in South West Wales. There are numerous opportunities for you all as school leavers to progress a career within each of these professions, and I would encourage you all to consider all of the opportunities available within healthcare. We also take school children on summer work experience in order to give you some insight into what each job entails, so please feel free to contact your local hospital to make arrangements when the time is right for you. So today we're going to look at artificial intelligence, which is often called machine learning. And at the end of the session, you should be able to describe what machine learning is and how machines learn similar to us as human beings. In the next three sections, we'll look at what machine learning is, how machines learn, and try to apply your understanding to a simple dog and cat scenario. Before we start, I'd like you to consider whether you've heard of machine learning or artificial intelligence, and if so, what this means to you. After the video on the next slide, I'd like you to consider this question again, but I'd also like you to consider why machine learning is increasing so rapidly, and any issues that you can think of or problems that could arise from its development in the future.
Every day, a large portion of the population is at the mercy of a rising technology, yet few actually understand what it is. Artificial intelligence. You know, HAL 9000 and Marvin the Paranoid Android. Thanks to books and movies, each generation has formed its own fantasy of a world ruled, or at least served, by robots. We've been conditioned to expect flying cars that steer clear of traffic and robotic maids whipping up our weekday dinner. But if the age of AI is here, why don't our lives look more like the Jetsons? Well, for starters, that's a cartoon. And really, if you've ever browsed Netflix movie suggestions or told Alexa to order a pizza, you're probably interacting with artificial intelligence more than you realize. And that's kind of the point. AI is designed so you don't realize there's a computer calling the shots. But that also makes understanding what AI is, and what it's not, a little complicated. In basic terms, AI is a broad area of computer science that makes machines seem like they have human intelligence. So it's not only programming a computer to drive a car by obeying traffic signals, but it's when that program also learns to exhibit signs of human-like road rage. As intimidating as it may seem, this technology isn't new. Actually, for the past half a century, it's been an idea ahead of its time. The term artificial intelligence was first coined back in 1956 by Dartmouth professor John McCarthy. He called together a group of computer scientists and mathematicians to see if machines could learn like a young child does, using trial and error to develop formal reasoning. The project proposal says they'll figure out how to make machines use language, form abstractions and concepts, solve kinds of problems now reserved for humans, and improve themselves. That was more than 60 years ago. Since then, AI has remained for the most part in university classrooms and super-secret labs, but that's changing. Like all exponential curves, it's hard to tell when a line that's slowly ticking upwards is going to skyrocket. But during the past few years, a couple of factors have led to AI becoming the next big thing. First, huge amounts of data are being created every minute. In fact, 90% of the world's data has been generated in the past 2 years. And now, thanks to advances in processing speeds, computers can actually make sense of all this information more quickly. Because of this, tech giants and venture capitalists have bought into AI and are infusing the market with cash and new applications. Very soon, AI will become a little less artificial and a lot more intelligent. Now the question is, should you brace yourself for yet another Terminator movie live on your city streets? Not exactly. In fact, stop thinking of robots. When it comes to AI, a robot is nothing more than the shell concealing what's actually used to power the technology. That means AI can manifest itself in many different ways. Let's break down the options. First, you have your bots. They're text-based and incredibly powerful, but they have limitations. Ask a weather bot for the forecast, and it will tell you it's partly cloudy with a high of 57. But ask that same bot what time it is in Tokyo, and it'll get a little confused. That's because the bot's creator only programmed it to give you the weather by pulling from a specific data source. Natural language processing makes these bots a bit more sophisticated. When you ask Siri or Cortana where the closest gas station is, it's really just translating your voice into text, feeding it to a search engine, and reading the answer back in human syntax. So in other words, you don't have to speak in code. At the far end of the spectrum is machine learning, and honestly, it's one of the most exciting areas of AI. Like a human, a machine retains information and becomes smarter over time. But unlike a human, it's not susceptible to things like short-term memory loss, information overload, sleep deprivation, and distractions. But how do these machines actually learn? Well, while it may be easy for a human to know the difference between a cat and a dog, for a computer, not so much. You see, when you're only considering physical appearance, the difference between cats and dogs can be a little gray. You can say cats have pointed ears and dogs have floppy ears, but those rules aren't universal. Between tail length, fur texture, and color, there are a lot of options, and that means a lot of tedious rules someone would have to program manually to help a computer spot the difference. But remember, machine learning is about making machines learn like humans, and like any toddler, that means they have to learn by experience. With machine learning, programs analyze thousands of examples to build an algorithm. It then tweaks the algorithm based on if it achieves its goal. Over time, the program actually gets smarter. That's how machines like IBM's Watson can diagnose cancer, compose classical symphonies, or crush Ken Jennings at Jeopardy! Some programs even mimic the way the human brain is structured, complete with neural networks that help humans, and now machines, solve problems. Generations have long imagined the ramifications of AI, visualizing a society where machines seek revenge and wreak havoc on human society. However, the more logical and pressing question is, how will AI affect your job? Will it make your work obsolete? Just like the Industrial Revolution, it's not human versus machine, it's human and machine versus problem. The point is that artificial intelligence helps you accomplish more in less time, taking on the repetitive tasks of your job while you master the strategy and relationships. That way, humans can do what they do best: be human.
So how do machines learn? And how is this different from simple computer programming? With computer programming, we break down the problem into simple instructions for the computer. The computer then uses these instructions to perform a task for us. So what's different with machine learning and AI? With machine learning, you collect as many examples of the task as possible to allow the computer to learn how to do the task, but also learn when it gets it right or when it gets it wrong. Very similar to our human brains, the AI within the computer can then learn similar to the way our brains function as human beings. So now I'd like you to try this little activity. I'd like you to try this example with a cat and a dog. Try to create a few rules that would identify the difference between the cat and the dog. Once you've created the rules, you can test them then on the following slide. Now test your rules on the following images to see if they work. Do they work? If not, try to go back and adjust your original rules to see if this then works. So how do we use AI within healthcare? We're already using AI to predict when someone could be at risk of cardiac disease or even a heart attack, well before they actually have that problem. We're also using AI within medical imaging to help diagnose cancer. We can tailor treatment plans for individual patients to ensure they get the most appropriate treatment for them personally. And the big pharmaceutical companies are now using AI to reduce the time taken to develop new drugs and treatments to ensure we get these to the patients as quickly as possible. Within Howell Bar, for example, we have just installed a robot to help the surgeons undertake hip and knee surgery. In the future, we could use AI to help the robot work independently of the surgeon. You can watch the video of the robot on the next slide, and there's also another video of IBM Watson's AI platform. I hope you've enjoyed the presentation.
Now, surgeons have carried out a partial knee replacement by robot on a patient with arthritis in the first procedure of its kind at a Midlands hospital. The robot knows with pinpoint accuracy which parts of diseased bone to cut away, and it avoids damaging soft tissue around the joint.
Today's patient was operated on this morning and went home this afternoon walking. This procedure means patients don't have to spend several nights in hospital, good for them, while freeing up beds and saving money. Mark Goff reports.
Stephen Robbins is about to have a knee op performed in part by this robot, ending years of pain from arthritis.
The pain, it's just like a dull ache which never stops, and as the day goes on, it gets worse and worse and worse.
The robot will cut away diseased bone and prepare the knee for an implant. It's a first here at Walsall Manor Hospital, and Stephen is the first patient. We're going to film the operation.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Oh good.
And we'll see you on the other side with a bit of luck.
Oh, so, if you do well.
This is a 3D model of Stephen's knee taken from a CT scan, showing the areas of affected bone which need to be cut away. And that's been programmed into the robot. Surgeon Fahad Hussain plots where the robot needs to cut and guides the robot arm in. And it works with pinpoint accuracy. If the surgeon moves even 0.2 of a millimetre in the wrong direction, the robot cuts out. It knows exactly where the infected part of bone is, and it cuts just that. No more, no less.
That gives us boundaries so that we can't go outside of those. So if we were to go off in the wrong direction, the robot cuts off and stops us making any mistakes, in essence.
Because the robot controls how much we can cut, the amount of soft tissue damage that will happen will also be less, which will translate into better outcomes for our patients, reduced length of stay, and quicker recovery.
Unlike GPS in a sat-nav, signals from here to receivers on Stephen's leg, and the robot tells it which position the knee is in, and it can change the angle it's working at.
With this, the robot understands where the patient is in space, and then it brings that blade in and then makes those cuts very accurately to within 0.5 millimetre and 0.5 degree. So we can change any of those parameters during the operation to give this patient a beautifully aligned hip or a knee replacement.
The operation was this morning, but look at this, by 3:30 this afternoon, Stephen was up and about. I'm astonished to see you.
And me.
Up and about.
And me. I was expecting the same as this.
How do you feel?
I can't describe it. It's just that good. It's just that good.
Not long after, Stephen went back home. Mark Goff, ITV News.
Watson, who is David McCullough, correct?
IBM's Watson, the technology that beat 2 humans on Jeopardy 2 years ago, may be the technology that helps doctors beat cancer. Dr. Arthur Forney at WestMed Medical Group in New York is testing Watson in the form of an iPad app during its pilot phase. So here Watson was given a very unusual case, a young Asian woman, non-smoker, who has lung cancer.
So now you tell Watson to do its thing, and it's now looking at the data you inputted, the data from her imaging, from her biopsy.
In 17 seconds, Watson has analyzed about 3,500 textbooks and 400,000 other pieces of data.
This is the screen where it shows you that after looking at what you have so far, it would consider that you do several other things for the patient that it doesn't see yet in the chart.
In an instant, Watson has figured out what caused this cancer.
It turns out she has a very rare genetic mutation, which is accounting for her cancer.
And offered 3 treatment options.
It has shown that treatment 1 has a 95% confidence of being effective, whereas treatment 2 is only half that.
Is this so obscure that you would have needed Watson for the diagnosis and treatment, or would an oncologist come up with the same treatment plan?
In fact, this is such a new discovery of this particular mutation, and it's a relatively new drug as well, that my guess is that many oncologists may not be quite up to speed yet.
Watson gets its wisdom from Dr. Andrew Seidman and a team at New York's Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center. 1,500 lung cancer cases so far, and breast cancer cases as well. Lab results, physician's notes, and clinical research have been fed into the supercomputer, along with medical journals and textbooks.
We are trying to challenge Watson right now in the training process with common cases and not so common cases.
So the Watson system that we built is a machine that's about this size. We've done a lot of engineering on that since then. So
Watson Chief Technology Officer Rob High says the achievement is staggering.
Watson learns about language, and that's the really profound breakthrough here, is that it is in the language that we understand each other.
That breakthrough and Watson's remarkable accuracy could help doctors eliminate unnecessary procedures and costs and disrupt the $2.8 trillion healthcare industry.
It's a partnership between physician and patient, between information technology and the healthcare environment.
I think it is a game changer. It can aid the physician in a way that's nothing we've ever had before.
This is so fascinating. You know, they said they're giving Watson more and more challenges. How is Watson doing so far, you know, with cases ranging from the common to the exceptionally unique?
So far, Watson's accuracy is remarkable. They expect nothing lower than 85% to 95%, and so far it has proven out to hit those numbers. It really is amazing. They wanted that for Jeopardy, and they're seeing it again with the cancer.
So what about when then? I mean, there's all this talk about Watson's potential. When is Watson going to be ready to treat people?
It's pretty close. They're continuing the beta tests. They think they'll be done by around the end of the year, and patients could start using it, and doctors.
Well, I'm sure you all agree this is a very exciting time within healthcare, and I truly hope a few of you will continue the work we've started when you begin your careers in the future.